think I ever used AI in anything, that's for sure. Now we are live. Welcome to our pre-Halloween horror stream, I guess we'll call it. And Frankincense is here, Magic Frank, and he's going to help me do a sort of casual interview with Mr. C.P. Webster, who publishes in Aegeon as well as in many other places, Bizarre Archives. Did you publish? Where else have you published? Or you just self-published?
I've got something coming out. I've been published by them before, but there's something coming out this on the 31st, which is something called Lovecraftiana. And it's I can't remember the publisher. It's a mainstream publisher. And every now and again I can't remember it now.
Really?
And I'll look it up in a second. And yeah, so that's coming out. And it's one I haven't had published anywhere else. And it's a very short one. And I think it's the best story I've written. But yeah, it's coming out, so I won't be able to use it again for about a year after this Halloween. But yeah.
And then you will.
Then I will.
Then you will use it. You can't remember the mainstream publisher. So what can I ask? What
I'll check it. I'll check it now.
Can I ask you, just out of my obvious usual business curiosity, do they give you like a one-time fee, or do you get a percent of the sales? Or
yeah. It's a percentage of the sales. So
all right, oh, that's good.
I think you get if I remember rightly, they sent me, a small amount, I think 40 or 50 quid or something, and then you get a percentage of sales, something like that. So it's peanuts.
Like less, like 1%, or
it's tiny. Yeah, I mean I had the story published by them about 3 years ago, and I think I've had about 7 or 8 quid from them. So it's
it's like an anthology with several authors, and
it's a big anthology.
Yeah, when there's split royalties like that, you're lucky to get like $5 out of it.
Yeah, and that's a couple of years.
For anyone who doesn't know, Mr. Webster writes excellent. I mean, I know you for your short stories, and they're excellent. Is it exclusively horror? I mean, you did a bit of sort of sci-fi stuff for me. What else do you do? Anything else?
It's just I don't like the term, but it's speculative fiction, so it's whatever it becomes, really. Whether it's set in the past or in the present or in some other place, wherever. But it just depends on the turn of events as they happen at the time in that crazy process of writing.
That's cool. I like that. I like that idea. Speculative fiction. That's like I was watching a documentary about some death metal bands, and a lot of them wanted to be referred to as progressive metal, which I thought was a cool term. Good idea.
I was talking about this today with my daughter. She's getting into new metal and stuff, and she's trying to.
Oh, Jesus. Get her out.
So she's playing stuff to me, and I'm going, "Oh, okay, that's okay." And I said, "Why are they rapping?" And she's, "Oh, it's but the thing is, but I said to her, I said, everything has to be in brackets now. You have to have your new metal. You got to have this. You got to have that. You got to have the other." And it's just rock and roll. And if it works, it works. But everyone likes things in brackets.
Yeah, I don't mind this categorization. It means a new genre has been created, I guess. I don't mind it. I mean, sometimes it's when you try to pigeonhole someone into it that likes to do different things. But I like when they I like speculative fiction is a good way to talk about what you do or what you might do, because you don't know where the story is going to go or what you may choose to write. It may more often lean to horror, let's say, but
I mean, some people really just dislike that phrase, but in terms of, I mean, the word horror is, I'm a little bit on the side of Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, who said that they detested the word horror as opposed to applied to their films. Yeah, they said it's fantasy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they Christopher Lee particularly was very. Really sort of antagonistic to the use of the term horror. He said it was no, it's not horror, it's fantasy. It's fantasy, It's
I think I'd agree with him mostly, especially when I look at things like Dracula. Like how much horror is Dracula really versus just being a spooky fantasy story, right?
Well, it is pretty scary when done right. And back in the day, those Hammer films were like the height of gore. I know they're not now, but
the Hammer Dracula is honestly one of my favorite Draculas.
They're great.
Just this week, I do a thing where I watch a film with a friend from America every week, and we've done pretty much all the major Draculas. And I would say,
what was your favorite?
I would say Christopher Lee did the best Dracula.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the 90s Coppola version where
Mhm.
he did a lot of interesting stuff visually, but
Yeah.
honestly, what's his name? God, I'm forgetting all the names today. The guy who played John Wick and Neo in the Matrix.
Oh, yeah. Oh, him and his accent. It was so bad. What?
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, yes, he was absolutely horrendous in his role as Jonathan
Probably
Parker.
good. His English accent was just ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
And everyone else was doing such a good job acting out their characters. And whenever this guy opened his mouth, it took you right out. Like the movie was too good for his level of acting, right? He would have been more at home at like a B movie.
Coppola should have given him more lessons. And also, Winona Ryder's accent wasn't great either. She made a few weird sounds. I thought.
Yeah, but at least he tried acting, right?
I've not seen the Coppola one for a few years now. I kind of vaguely remember it. Have you ever seen the Jack Palance Dracula? I think.
Yeah, that was good. I like it.
That was really good.
I have not seen the Jack Palance Dracula.
And I actually like
good.
I like some of those 60 schlocky Draculas, like Count Yorga. You ever see that? Count Yorga? That's pretty good. The second one is actually quite good. The second Count Yorga Returns or whatever. But also, I haven't seen this one. Frank, tell me if you saw this one, because I didn't see it since I was a kid. But I remember being terrified of one. It might have even been like a TV movie Dracula, but it had that guy, that Italian American actor. What's his name? Oh shit.
Oh no, probably not. Probably not.
Oh, what's his name? Oh,
what's he been in?
The classic 70s films. Hold on, let me. Frank something or other. Frank.
Frank Langella.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes, that's right. Yeah, he did a version. Yeah.
I have not seen that.
I honestly haven't seen that since I was probably like 10 or something. But it actually made an impact. It actually terrified me. I remember the scene where he's crawling on the walls outside.
Yeah.
Probably because it's the first Dracula I saw.
Sometimes these things just really stick with you. I've just tonight we've started this thing on a Friday night with my youngest, my 15-year-old. So right, you're going to watch classic movies for the spooky season. So we watched The Exorcist, and I thought, this is, and she's always told, because I said to her, I said, I'm not sure, this film still freaks me out, and she said, oh no, I've seen clips of it. It's not scary at all. And she was watching it tonight. She said, this is really freaky. It's such a good film. It's so well acted. The story's great. Max von Sydow's immaculate. It's fantastic. It's a great film.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it for probably about 15 or 20 years. It's the first time tonight. And
I like the scene with the older priest, and he's like, "What's your favorite movie?" And there's a long pause, and he goes, "The Fly," which is a great movie as well. But actually, I always remember that the most brilliant scene in The Exorcist to me, I recognize this also when I was quite young, because I'd never seen anything like it. I've never seen it done in a film since, is the dream sequence in that, where the priest is dreaming.
Yeah.
But like the way he did it, it's so much like a real dream, because he does the sounds of him like breathing, and that's all you hear. And there's just like this weird kind of flashy scene he's running. And then that's also incredibly spooky. It's
disjointed. And it's collagey because there's images happening, and there's the dogs, and then there's the medallion falling. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Like it's up there with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Unique.
Favorite directors when it comes to dreamlike scenes, it's got to be David Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think David Lynch was
almost like being in a dream.
Speculative fiction would fit what he does best, because he just does stuff, and there's the fantastic in it, but he's not really slapping it into any genre.
Yeah.
And he only died. Lynch only died recently.
This year, I think.
The thing with Lynch, it's the business of you don't know as the viewer, actually, are we looking into a dream, or is this now reality? Like that scene in Lost Highway where he's at the bar at the party. And I think, again, it's years since I've seen it. But the guy, is it a dwarf? He comes up to him or something, says, "I'm in Europe."
Actor, it's that weird actor with the white,
that's
white.
Right. He says,
And
I mean,
that guy actually killed somebody. That guy was famous for
oh,
actually
did he?
killing somebody.
Did he really? Jeez.
Or allegedly or something. But yeah, he there's a famous
The-
murder case with him. I think he did time for it. Anyways, but that's besides the point. He was
The
a famous
Vargas
actor from
cinema.
like the 60s. Yeah, but anyways, but yeah, that's one of his creepiest little scenes. But
But
Lynch
he
was
says,
like,
he says to him, "I'm in your apartment now." You know,
Mm.
and it's like,
and call me.
So there's
and
this,
he called him.
yeah, this disjointedness.
Mm.
You know, yeah, Lynch was great at it.
Well, he was great at, like, he seemed to be obsessing. He would obsessively just create little scenes, excellent, dreamlike, horrific scenes. But like he would just obsess over creating a scene that he had envisioned the night before, and he would just throw out the story and everything by the wayside to add this scene. It seemed like to
Must
me,
be a cool-
like a little bit
yeah.
artistically. I liked it when he was forced to stick to a storyline as well as doing his funky stuff, like in Dune or Twin Peaks, at the start at least. I like when someone forced him to kind of stick to the story. I think it was better a little bit, because sometimes his bullshit got a bit kind of. I couldn't even watch Inland Empire. I think I fell asleep watching Inland Empire. I was like, this is.
I think
he's vanished up his own
I
ass.
did really like Twin Peaks season 3, like the return that he did 25 years later.
Parts of it were good.
And yeah, I think he often overindulges in things he just wants to do, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of appreciate
don't we
it
all?
because you just get his raw imagination in there, right? It's just you're getting full Lynch. That's nothing else in there, and
Yeah.
and I can appreciate that when someone just
Yeah.
lets loose and becomes the loose cannon that he was at the end.
Yeah. Something I want to mention that we were talking about before we went live is Frank mentioned to me that Boris Vallejo is still painting today, and he's still available to be hired to paint. But if there's any rich people out there, any rich patrons looking for a Vallejo or anything, it's going to cost you something like 12 grand. Is that what you were told? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So like under 10K, you can forget it.
So if there's people out there that aren't broke authors like us, and you want a Vallejo before he passes. I mean, I didn't know he was still painting out there. Jesus Christ.
No, I thought.
I think he's
in fact,
married
he'd have asked
to
me,
Julie
I
Bell,
just said
and they
dead.
work together. So you can get either just from him or just from her, or get a collaboration between them. So
What did Julie Bell do again? What was Julie Bell famous for again? What does she do on her own?
She also did and does fantasy illustrations like that. Same kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then they painted together and they model for each other.
Yeah.
So in most of their paintings, it's actually them, because they would do their bodybuilding and then they paint themselves. And it was a pretty good combo, really, all things told. Yeah. So they must be getting up there. They must be like.
Oh, I think they're in their 70s at this point. So
early 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe you can still do it. I thought that was interesting. And Mr. Webster has a new book. Why don't you tell us about that?
Okay, so this is I've been writing, as I was saying before we went live. I had a war chest of stories. This new book is one of them. So basically, from about 2022 to this year, I've just been writing and trying to write at least 1,000 words a day. So I'm which is more or less a short story a week. So I had a good stock of them. And the book that's come out this month now on the 21st, it's a novella. So this is just the galley copy from Amazon there, but it's a collection of an occult detective. Yeah, Confessions of an Occult Detective. So it's basically it starts off at the beginning of his career, and it's a guy in London in the 50s, a young guy finding his way, he gets interested in the occult, and he starts to get drawn into that world, and then he has a loss, and that just drags him in. And each story is really how he develops really as an investigator and gets involved in a whole series of weird and bizarre things. It began with a short story I wrote it was the Bizarre Archives, called The Pimlico Vampire. And the character who is in this novella was a minor character in that short story, where he's being consulted by the police in a kind of murder thing. So I just liked him, and I thought, I'm going to write more about him. And that's happened to me a few times, where I'll just write an incidental character, and then I'll just develop a backstory, and then it'll go up. So it's it goes from the 1950s through to the 1980s. The stories in there, and it ranges from
your favorite series of decades.
Yeah.
It
doesn't go beyond. It doesn't leak into that world of the internet. It just stops before.
Oh, don't do it. Yeah, the world of Friends. As soon as Friends started, then there's no point. Like,
yeah. So and the last story is set in New York, and so it's a kind of range of different things that he encounters, and he works for a group called The Company, which is a kind of an international ghost busting group, effectively, and that came out of my novella. That the Bizarre Archives published called The Horror Beneath, and one of the characters in that who's investigating this house is working for The Company. So I thought, well, I'll develop that as well. So there's loads of Easter eggs in my stories, and unless you were kind of reading them, you wouldn't notice them. But maybe somebody, well, I noticed them because I've read all the buggers. But they're all sort of there are these little links and cross weavings between them. But yeah, I'm pleased with it, and I think it's that's 2 novellas this year, and the other one was published by the Bizarre Archives, which is Weird Trails, and similarly, that's this one. Right. So this one, that's about a Texan who's in the 30s, and again he gets embroiled in a series of adventures, and that's much more Howardian and sort of action orientated, but with an occult or supernatural elements to it.
Very good.
Yeah, so it's just been I just kind of wanted to keep pushing them out, really, because I've got them, and I just want to get them out there. So the Bizarre Archives has been very good. You've been great, and getting these stories out there. And then I thought, well, this year I'm just going to go for it with the short stories, and so I did.
Short stories are the most fun, anyways, I think. And when you got
so that one,
that one, yeah, Lovecraft's
Cat. That's a collection of short stories that have been published in Aegon and Bizarre Archives. And then
you've been in every Aegon for a while now. You've had at least one story for like quite a few of them.
I'm on a run, but yeah, until you see them, you see one and go, "Oh Christ, this is terrible." And I did this. This is another collection of other short stories as well. So they've been out there for a couple of months now, and it's just I kind of like I'm getting the stories published, and that's great, and it's just kind of keeping the ball rolling, really. And I'm writing all the time anyway, so I'm writing something at the moment.
Yeah, I remember at some point you were working on a sword and sorcery novella, right?
Yeah, that's it. That exists. Brendan has it somewhere.
Well, you were going to. You told me you were doing something with it, right?
Yeah, I did for me. Yeah, I did those revisions. I'm sure I sent it back to you, but
did you? Oh shit! Sorry, I totally forgot. Or I didn't. I wasn't. No, last I heard you said you were doing something else with it. I didn't realize you sent it back. Oh shit! You've been waiting for ages. Then sorry about that.
Well, no, maybe I didn't. I don't know. I'm old, I was 60.
Yeah, me
60
too.
This year.
Oh shit! Well, just send it back to me, please, and then we'll look at that for sure.
I'll get paranoid now. I remember. I'll go with your revisions again.
Yeah, revisions again. The second or third round of revisions. Yeah. Yeah, right. And we had it. I had some. I was going to get Gorboot to the cover maybe on that one too. Nice. Alexei Gorboot, who's we were talking about earlier as well. He's very excellent contemporary fantasy. All these guys like him are guys like us, right? You're looking at people that are diehard, old school. Like we're not. How would you explain us? We're not posers, let's say. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So any kind of bullshit we try to just cut out of the whole scene altogether, right? And you're talking about all this. Look at the type of stories you're writing, or that any of us would probably be inclined to write, and the eras we set them in, and everything else. It's just like, what's the best way to describe it all? I don't know.
Essentially, we're the literary version of the new wave of traditional heavy metal.
That's good. Excellent. And in some ways, even something even a bit almost more extreme than that sometimes. But certainly with Guts, when I have that done, that's going to be just blatant. What was the tagline I have? The original tagline was totally inappropriate or something like that, or just like outrageous rubbish or something.
Well, the stuff you shared looks great.
Yeah, it's definitely, every time I get a test print, I see another problem, and then I change it again, and I get another test print and wait another week. I'm definitely, this is the last test print. I'm 98% positive. So I'm waiting another week for that.
Yeah, the stuff you showed me of that, it really looks like it could have been published in France in the 70s.
Yeah. Except even, I tried to even, I don't know, like it's definitely got more, it's got more sex in it. Well, maybe, I don't know. I did see some pretty gratuitous
published in Italy in the 70s, right?
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Yeah.
If you look at something like Druna, right, by Sepieri,
yeah,
that's the kind of level, right?
I mean, I'm definitely not at that level of artwork wise. Although, like, it's not just I did some of the art, but a lot of other people did the art. There's like, some really great guys I found. There's this Italian guy, Alessandro. What's his last name? I can't think of it right now. Shit, sorry, buddy. And obviously Alexi and Obsidian Bones. You know him. There's a bunch of guys that are really good that are in there that they're excited to do more. There's another guy, Cam Hayden from Canada. He's got an excellent kind of Ratfink kind of style, like, you know, that kind of, you know what I mean, like that. How do you describe that? What would you call that? It's sort of, you know, retro-ish horror, cartoony. I don't know, shit. They all have their own different styles, which is good. But like, I'm just trying to. But everything we do has that vein going through it, where like anything that's not right, not just to say anything modern per se, but like any kind of bullshit thing that you feel is intruding on your modern entertainment, you won't find anything we're doing, I don't think.
And you've got to do it yourself. I think it's ultimately, you know, it's I bashed my brains out for about 6 or 7 years, you know, sending stuff to publishers and trying to get an agent and all this kind of thing, and just getting nowhere, absolutely nowhere with it. And so, you know, you just have to do it yourself. And my trouble is, all I really want to do is just sit and write, you know, and everything else is a distraction, you know. You know, so it's like life is a distraction. It's like cleaning is a distraction, cooking is a distraction, you know.
Yeah, arcades or whatever. Yeah,
you know, whatever.
Well, from what I heard, even if you go with a publisher these days, they're not going to do a lot of marketing for you, right? They expect you to do a lot of that on your own, and so ultimately, what do you get when you're traditionally published? When you get an agent and
what do you feel? How did you? Let me ask you. How did you get this mainstream publisher you got now for this short story? And what kind of marketing are they planning? Are they gonna? Yeah. What are they doing? Like, how did that go?
I just looked it up before. You might see me squinting. It was Rogue Planet Press. That's who it is. Okay. I don't know. I send it to them, and then I kind of get a copy, and then and then they promote it, I guess, their magazine, but it's, you know, they do all the things that everyone else does. They do the social media and the you know, I don't know if they do YouTube, but they do all the social media stuff and that.
So just the same stuff we do on our own. Like, do they have some kind of advantage?
Yeah, you know. Well, I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, the thing I find is that the biggest stumbling block always is marketing. And getting people aware of what you're doing, you know. Because I think the product is all right. It's just getting people to find it, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think so too. Like, I don't know. We all know our own books more intimately than anything else. So I just know with mine or with Aegeon, like, they get great reviews when people do read them, but it's not. You just don't get a lot of people reading them. That's why actually with Guts, I'm going to try. Since I've got a little bit of an investment guy behind it, I can experiment this time with things like Google Ads and that. I'm going to try and find. I'm not just going to rely on social media.
Yeah,
I think paid ads on some platform, whether it's Google or social media or some of the others, definitely must be the way. Cracking that nut is what you have to do, I think. And maybe if your this main publisher you're using is any good, they're doing something similar. I figure you have to be doing that. You have to be paying somebody for your ads to appear. Even you can do the Amazon ads as well. Yeah, I might try that as well. We'll see. Figure that's the way, because I've done none of that. All I've done is share it on Twitter now and then and hope for the best.
But it is the eternal mystery. It's you know, how do you break that glass ceiling, as they like to say? You know, this idea that there's something that's blocking the way. and what is it you have to do to get to kind of break through. And I think it's just it's word of mouth. It's making an effort with the social media. It's doing a bit of advertising, and it's a lot of luck as well, I think, sometimes. You know?
We also have to keep working at it and improve our art as we go,
Yeah.
and get more.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, each one I'm sure gets slightly better because as we learn, like you just keep learning all the tricks of the trade. And
Yeah, I guess if you get lucky and you become a viral hit on a platform like TikTok or something, right? Then you just take off, and that's it.
Yeah, it's all mysterious to me. You know, I mean, the internet is something that I've been using since the mid to late 90s, and it's still mysterious to me, and it becomes more mysterious. And I think it's, you know, the way that young people interact with it and kind of use it is completely different from, you know, if I'm going to look something up, I'll go and look in a book. I'll Google it too, obviously, but you know, I can go and find information that way, and that seems to be increasingly alien. You know, it's sort of this idea of using libraries and books and documents and looking at the actual kind of veritas of the thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not putting down the you know, in younger generations. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah, a bit like I do see a lot of slop that manages to get out there. Whenever I see the recommended next in line on Amazon under my science fiction books, it'll be some like shitty quasi, you know, shades of gray romancy sci-fi thing written by some chick, and it'll have some shitty graphic design on it, but it'll somehow be popular or put out there. It'll be really slop looking. It'll have an AI even cover and stuff like that, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, the problem with that stuff is that really popular sloppy stuff. Essentially, they just copy the same tired tropes and repackage them, right? There's barely even much story in there or much originality. They just market by saying, "Oh, this one is enemies to lovers," and then it's the exact same story that every other enemies to lovers story has, right? They're just
does that work for them then?
repackaging.
Is that so? Who's buying these books? Or are they just like, are they somehow paying to create the appearance of popularity? Or
Mostly women, I think. There's a lot of women who love reading the same formulaic romance stories, right? And but there's also the same thing in some male genres going on, like lit RPG is a thing that I've taken a look at, and I understand that one even less than the romance stuff, because essentially lit RPG is you write a fantasy story, but the characters are characters in a role-playing game, and they understand their own world as role-playing rules. So in a fight scene, you actually get things like, oh, Conan missed the armor class of the giant snake, and then he lost 50 hit points or some shit like that, instead of actually just describing the action as a regular thing. They put all these game mechanics into the story. And this is a huge genre for some reason. A lot of people read it. A lot of people buy it. And it also has the problem of many of the stories being the same, just repackaged tropes over and over.
I'm sure
again.
it's slop. I'm sure it's just fucking slop. Yeah, I can tell from looking at it.
Yeah, I have serious.
Robert E. Howard's turning in his grave. I think it's.
Well, like you say, Robert Howard and Lovecraft in their lifetimes were more like guys like us that were just like, you know, they didn't get huge. It was after their death. Not to say that we will be the same, but like, you know, that they were in that. But like, part of our problem then is perhaps that we are not writing sellout shit for chicks. We're men, and we're writing absolutely manful for an audience of people with balls. And I guess half the men are, first of all, just playing video games all day and not reading anything. Maybe, I don't know. But no, really, it's just a distribution issues. You know, social media is fine, but even then, I don't use it in the right way. Every time I go into social media, I get completely gaslit by some political shit, and I end up ranting all day about some fucking political. I go on with the full intention of just like talking about science fiction and pushing some links around, and I just get completely gaslit into ranting. So that's just, what can I say? Like, what can I do? That's the same thing. Like, I'm a man. I'm going to say what I have to say. I mean, it's to me that would be a sign of someone who's. I mean, even the books and everything else were kind of railing against the way things are, I guess, but hoping to improve things or bring back some element of entertainment as we knew it. Keep it alive, keep it going. If it's like if the candle has gone out in the mainstream a little bit.
Yeah,
anyways.
I'm not pessimistic about things. I think that there is an audience out there. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot more people out there than there were in the 1930s. And I think everything's cyclical and trends come around again. And it may well be that we won't all get sucked into a kind of electronic wormhole, and people will say, I've had enough of this. I'm going to start reading books again.
I'm not so cynical about the internet as you are. I don't mind the internet myself. I think it's interesting.
No, I don't mind it. I just see it as an enormous kind of Wild West cultural force that's, you can see, how governments are desperate to control things on them because it is such a Wild West, or it was at least. It's less so now. I mean,
remember the glory days?
Oh, yeah.
Glory days.
It's become less so than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, like even 2014 or something like that. I remember people would be saying things on Facebook that would not even be allowed on Telegram now.
Yeah.
Just outrageous. Your uncle and would be just I don't know, outrageous. I mean, I myself remember saying outrageous things. You'd say whatever you wanted. It was great. And there was great knowledge being passed around through that quagmire.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'd be depressing things and awful. But along with the censorship, I do recall came an increase in slop and like bots and like people. Not just that. There was I remember when the first time I had like a leftist swarm of people attacking me over something or other. I think it was the first one was when I said I hate rap music or something like that. I remember getting swarmed by these accounts, a lot of them with the animes or the Che Guevaras in them, and it was all very political and so forth. But like even their way of attacking and talking. As many of them were that were real people. There was, I don't know how to describe it. It was so, just like it didn't give you. It just felt like these are the lowest scum of the earth if they're real people. As many of them as I'm sure some of them were, just the weakest, slimiest retards. And you didn't see as much of that when the internet was totally free somehow. I'm sure they were there, but it's like those people got totally elevated while the rest, anything decent and. Forthright and manly, I guess, and et cetera. Got.
Yeah, I think a big problem is that the internet used to be harder to access, right? And it used to be you required a computer to access the internet, and now everyone accesses it on their smartphones.
Yeah.
That's my next rant. Smartphones. I don't like that.
Yes.
I don't.
You don't have a phone. Jesus, you're lucky, man. And your kids don't have one.
This thing is enough. It sucks me in enough, so I don't need to have a phone on me as well. But you're right. That's made a huge difference since the smartphone is just so you've got your portable PC basically. People are using that all the time and accessing that.
In a science fiction sense, that is interesting though. I know it is bad because that's part of the reason people don't read books anymore so much. But I don't know, you have this extension of yourself where you're projecting your thoughts and ideas out into this, invisible network thing. And like the phone it's much more than a phone. It's some sort of like extenuation of yourself in a strange way. But your kids must have phones, do they not? Or do you deny them that?
No, everyone's got phones. I'm just the dinosaur, in the room.
No, that's cool. I mean, that's cool. I can respect that. Yeah. I mean, I could live without mine. I don't know. It's pretty handy.
Well, it is handy. I've got a flip phone.
It's handy indeed. That's what we call them in German.
I've got a flip phone.
The German word for a phone is handy.
I keep it in the car because that's where I think I'll need it. If I ever need a phone, it's going to be in the car if the car breaks down.
Right.
So, or if I'm, my wife goes mad because she sort of phones me, says, "Oh, I was trying to phone you. I was in the shop," and she said, "Why didn't you have your phone?" I said, "Oh, it's in the car." It's just not natural to me to carry a phone around.
Yeah, look, that's another thing that modernity has lost. You are no longer disconnected, right? You're expected to always have your phone around, so you're always reachable. You can't just go in the woods and be completely cut off for 5 hours.
Yeah,
Most
exactly.
people would think you're weird for doing that.
Rexus Prime says that's what they call brigading in reference to me getting as swarmed or whatever. It's happened to me so many times. If you say something negative about something they'll make bots in order to brigade your video. There was a lot of bots, but there was several times where I swear it was like individuals because we're making this is before the bot thing was as prevalent, and they'd be making fairly personalized sounding attacks. I didn't get the impression they were all
there's
bots. Or
people on the internet who are individuals but have about the same personality as a bot.
Yeah, like to be attacked over an opinion like that, and they're attacking you personally and swarming you by the hundreds, just trying to.
Well, I mean, that's it's another symptom of the times we live in. I made this point recently to someone about being able to agree to disagree. People aren't able to do that anymore. You know, you would have in the past, you'd have someone like, I don't know, Carlyle and Ruskin who would talk to each other, and they wouldn't fall out, or well, maybe they did fall out. Ruskin fell out people, but you know, the idea is that people could have profound differences. George Bernard Shaw and, you know, Ezra Pound or whatever, they could have profound differences, but they could still agree to disagree and say, oh, okay, you know, and not allow that to sort of taint everything else. And now it's if you disagree with me, then I hate you and I want to kill you. You know, well, that's
someone's always attacking you, and there's always some new reason to attack you. Yeah, Frank and I did a stream on religion. The last one we did on religion, that was at least partially inspired because every now and again I feel like making some kind of post. Like when I post on whatever, usually I'm out doing something, or I'm like picking up the kids, or I'm working or doing something, and some thought flies into my brain. I'm like, oh, I feel like saying this out loud to everybody in the fucking social media. Sometimes it's a religious idea. Like I think, oh, well, how about, because I'm often thinking about religious stuff and culty things, or about Christianity or paganism or whatever. And I just noticed, like, you know, if you feel the pressure, then if you want to, like, if you don't want to upset it, don't want a huge gang of Christians attacking you, or certain types of pagans attacking you, you don't necessarily want to say some bizarre speculation that just popped into your head while you're sitting and waiting in the dentist's office. I try not to care about that, and I just say it anyways, because I feel like I just feel like saying, "Isn't this interesting? This thought just occurred to me." You know, well, that's all. I hate the pressure you get from one side or the other, and then you feel like, "Oh, should I say that?" Like,
yeah, it's like censorship. You know, censorship is like, you know, well, if you don't like something, don't listen to it, or don't look at it. You know, that you don't have to destroy things.
Yeah, but with the religious stuff, that's really where people, if they feel they feel they're being attacked if you are in any way criticizing their belief. When I say mostly just like we were discussing, just want to point out speculatively something that's kind of interesting and saying, well, you know, what's the likelihood of this being true or not true? And just like discuss it. Just say, hey, you know, you can disagree, but like there's no reason to attack and go crazy and like, you know, but that's one of those things that really sets people off.
It's not just religion, you know, it's almost everything. You know, it's about people get kind of like get absolutely, you know, bizarrely engrossed in their thing, and it's a blasphemy to criticize it. It's stupid.
I think the spiciest one we did was the one with slavery, but there was surprisingly little attack coming from
our pro-slavery video. Yeah, there was no attack. Nobody attacked. Actually, nobody attacked me over that one at all. The only maybe it's just too confusing to they're too baffled to even think that somebody is.
Maybe really everyone supports ancient types of slavery.
Maybe they realize it's unavoidable.
Well, but you use that word attack. I mean, that's the thing. You know, normally in a normal kind of context, if you disagree with someone, you present your argument to them. You know.
Yeah,
and if your argument is convincing, they might change their mind. You know, it's just this idea that everything must be dismissed if it doesn't fit my version of reality. And the problem is now, of course, that everybody's an individual, and individual rights are the most important thing. So there isn't a coherence of, you know, or a consensus. That's been shattered by every single individual. That's stupid. It's just dumb.
It's strange, and like if you see even like a talk show, like those eras that you mentioned, the 50s to the 80s, the classic era, let's say, That is the classic era of, say, an industrialized society. Not necessarily since the war, let's say, since World War II. That was the era of the peace period where there was just a lot of the cultural inventiveness alone, all the stuff that inspired us that we're trying to continue going with our writing is really from that era mostly, right? Kind of there was a lot of freedom of thought going on. And then especially when they started experimenting with the drugs and the psychedelics, they really opened up their range of possibilities. All that's been closed down since, and it seems to get more and more closed all the time, more conformist. Things get more conformist as we go. But there was an anti-commercialism element, you know, and even in commercial art, you know, all your favorite artists on the radio would be like, okay, well, I know we're supposed to make a 5-minute song, but this song's 10 minutes, so fuck you. You know, this kind of, that's all gone now. But you know, there was that. I don't know.
I think in Britain anyway, at least, I don't know, but I think maybe it reflects elsewhere as well. But in Britain, after the Second World War, between the 1950s and then specifically into the 60s, I think, you know, Harold Macmillan, the Prime Minister, said you never had it so good. And he was right. People had suddenly moved into a world where, you know, they had indoor plumbing and toilets indoors and central heating, and there was full employment in the 60s. And you know, it was, I mean, my parents used to, if you left your job, if you decided you had enough of it, you could walk into another job the next day. You know, there was work, you know, and you could afford to buy a house and all the rest of it. So that was a golden era. It started to collapse in the 70s, but it was a golden era for that period.
I'd say it started to collapse in the 70s. I wouldn't say it. Would you say that? I wouldn't say it really started to collapse in the 90s, really.
Yeah, but in Britain, I mean, it was, you know, we were in serious economic decline.
But even then,
you know, the coal industry and so on. Yeah, but it was unraveling. It was starting to unravel. It really kind of, you know, I think it's. You're right. It was sort of towards the 80s with Thatcherism, I suppose, to a degree, and that radical change of economic thought. And I'm not in any way defending what came before it, but you know, I'm just saying, and that changed things. And then the 90s, of course, were, you know,
Thatcher and Reagan with the materialism and the cheesy Wall Street stuff and the
that was a big shift.
The yuppies. It was the beginning of the kind of conformism that kind of marched on ever since, really.
Because what people wanted was conservatism. They said, oh, this has gone too far that way. Let's have a bit more, you know, and go back. And they got something else, I think.
But even then, say, if you were to listen to a talk show, say a debate, you know, from that era, even well into the 80s, you know, there'd be even people on both sides would sound just totally erudite and intelligent and not attacking each other emotionally, making their points. Yeah, it's just amazing. You watch those old shows, like, you know, it's just the lost world of it. But like, it's so strange that we can be. I find things very odd. Who is the author? Who's the really psychedelic author? Shit, I forget his name. One of the American guys who was a big psychedelic guy in the 80s. No.
William Burroughs. No.
Oh shit. Anyways, but he had a famous quote for saying that you know, things aren't all the things you're waiting for, like whatever battles you're fighting, the things you're hoping to see resolved, none of that's going to get resolved. Things will just get weirder. And I believe that's true. So like, even say we can be children of this. Frank is very much younger than us. I don't know what he thinks about us and this old man nostalgia stuff. But you know, he's very aware of everything we're saying as a young guy, and there's many young guys.
I mean, I'm 37 at this point, right? So was born in 88, so I still caught the tail end of the 80s, just a bit of it. And
right, I guess you're not as young. Yeah,
too, right. Things have changed quite radically, especially in the 2010s culturally. I think that
but just the fact that all that stuff is still out there,
changes really came to bear fruit.
Yeah, my son's 30, and so he was born in the mid 90s, and he says that, you know, he says things radically, and actually specifically things with the introduction of the smartphone, things really changed. But you know, he grew up in a period where the internet was the norm. Okay, we had dial-up for a couple of years when he was younger, but you know, you know, and yet he's seen that massive shift in the last, you know, decade or two.
But my overall point was that stuff is still like a lot of us can still be aware of all that stuff. It's not like it's lost completely, and it's still in the culture. But at the same time, nothing can move us out of this slop drift. But we have all the stuff is available on the internet. Like, let's say my kids, even they're aware of a lot of things. They've seen certain things from my era, the Dukes of Hazzard, or or even a lot of things we're talking about. They'd have some awareness of it, but that also they're also sort of forcefully involved in the modern culture as it is, and they can see it's kind of shite. But like, it's weird that we have the internet, we have access to all the past art and culture, and some awareness of it, and yet we still can't break free of this bizarre, castrated slop fest.
I think it's really an individual thing at this point, right? Either you are the kind of mental aristocrat who seeks out higher quality entertainment, or you are satisfied with a slop fest. And the people who are satisfied with the slop, they're not going to seek out the better stuff, right? They're not going to have much of an interest in that. And I mentioned before how I have a friend in America with whom I watch a film every week, and we usually just do older stuff, right? From essentially the entire history of film. At some point, we decided to get into silent films, and the 1920s have now become our favorite era because there's just so much good film from that time.
Really?
And yes, there's absolutely excellent adventure stuff, great sci-fi horror. There's everything. It's amazing. And when I told another friend about that, he's like, "Oh, but aren't older films a bit too slow?" Right? So you have this mental blockade that a lot of people have, who think that old stuff is too slow and it takes too much effort to get into. And a lot of people are not willing to put in any effort into seeking higher quality entertainment, or even to put effort into consuming the higher quality entertainment. They just want stuff that gives instant gratification without having to think about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big hurdle.
Yeah, and like they do have all these distractions. Again, the video games and things have really like captured. I noticed it with my kids. Like I didn't want to be at first. I was like, okay, I wasn't. I would love to just not let them have video games or cell phones. I would love it. I still think even trying to devise ways to take these things away from them now. But like at the time,
I'm big into video games myself, and I can tell you that the quality of those has also decreased, especially the mainstream stuff, right?
Right.
The stuff from 25 years ago is far, far better than what we get today.
Right. That is
made for a different audience.
But I feel like those things captured their imagination and it distracted them a little bit, and that I feel like that's a big thing for a lot of men, anyways, in modern days, is they get really pulled into that world, and it's fine. But it kind of is a huge distraction. It offers more immediate stimulation than reading a book or watching a movie, I think, and it kind of has that kind of negative effect. But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes think that I'm just looking at things through a nostalgic lens, and I think when I was getting into music, for example, I had a back catalogue of music like from the 70s and the 60s. So I listened to Cream and Deep Purple and Uriah Heep and Black Sabbath from that era. Black Sabbath.
When you were getting into music.
Yeah.
What year?
So this is about 78, 79 when I was really getting into it.
All right, a bit older than me. Okay, sorry. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was. Bless you.
Go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So God bless you. I was. So, but the thing was, I had that, and I at the same time, I was immersed in a kind of a new culture and the new wave of British heavy metal was just starting. So, I was also listening to Motorhead. Okay, they were a bit older. Iron Maiden. Who else was it? It was coming out at that time. Saxon. I really love Saxon. There's loads of bands, and so it was like I was spoiled because I had this amazing back catalogue to draw upon, and then Sabbath brought out Heaven and Hell. in '79, and sort of, so it was like, so I've just spoiled. So I don't know whether it is just a nostalgic lens, but that's not.
No, it's not. It's not.
But I
I
also
refuse
think,
to.
yeah,
Go on,
I think
yeah.
I think there's great stuff being done now as well. I
There
don't
is
think
yeah.
it's lost.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not been mainstreamed in the way that it was in the past.
Yes. Yes. No, it is. And this was brought to my attention actually more just lately, where every time I begin to feel like a bit black-pilled by that kind of thing, something comes along and you remember and see that, these things are still out there and people are still trying and doing it. And just even if they're not getting the recognition they need, they give them what we do, like what we're compelled to do. We're going to keep doing it. We have some relative success. I'm sure we'll have more even as long as we keep trying. And I mean, that's fine. We're going to do it either way. Like you should do what you feel you're put on the earth to do, and what you feel you're good at. And even if it's in a hobby capacity, you have to keep trying and keep going. But I don't know. I think we're doing okay. Could be worse. As I said, we're probably not doing much different than Howard and Lovecraft were doing in their time. Anyways, I just want to say,
the only difference is when Howard and Lovecraft were paid $100 for a story that was actually a lot of money.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. Yeah. Some people are commenting on it. The author I was trying to remember, they said Hunter S. Thompson or Casey. Ken Casey, he means, yeah. Is it Casey that wrote The Mind Parasites? Who wrote that one? That was a great book. But no, it's not those guys. It's the guy that wrote the Illuminatus trilogy. Do you know that book? You know that? Anybody know that?
Yeah.
Someone look that up and tell me, because that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I was a little bit later than you. I remember when I first heard, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, but I can remember in the 80s. And the first real proper metal music I heard was Metallica Justice for All, because it had just come out.
Yeah.
And my friends had it. I remember them playing it in the hallway at school, and I was like, "What is this noise?" I remember the sounds of the guitar, and I was like, I couldn't quite fathom it, but I like the sound. I remember thinking, "Wow, I like the sound of that." I didn't know any in that time. The popular music was like fucking Pat Benatar or whatever.
When did
I didn't know
Justice
anything
for All come up? And when did Ride the Lightning come out? When were they?
Oh, those are all before that. This is that was the last good Metallica album, apart from the first Garage Days, actually.
Yeah.
But this is my first experience with music like that, or real music, because I had no interest before that, because it was all this kind of silly kind of 80s synth music.
But I listen to that era of Metallica now, and I think it's great. But when it first came out, I was like, oh, why are they playing the guitars that fast? Or why, and I was probably about 24 or 23, going like,
right.
Oh, It took
but
me
when
a while.
I was 24, when I was older, when I was 24, actually younger than that, say when I was I didn't know anything about Black Sabbath or some of the bands you were talking about till later. Because I got into that Metallica, and then I got into these 80s bands. What was popular then? Shit. Metallica, Slayer, and all that kind of thing, right? The thrash bands.
Megadeth.
Then, so then a few years later, I discovered no one had showed me Led Zeppelin or these things or Black Sabbath. I discovered those when I was 19 and was in college in art school, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is fucking amazing!"
Yeah, you see, I was schooled because I was a guy who worked with my dad. He was younger than my dad, and he had all these records. So he's about, I suppose he'd be about 10 or 15 years older than me. And so he was passing them to my dad to let me borrow them. So I came up, I thought, so through Cream and the Yardbirds and Deep Purple, So I started with those older bands first, and then realized that music genre was still going, and sort of got into bands as they went.
Yeah.
And also, I was around other people who had big brothers and sisters who were into metal, and they'd say, "Oh, well, have you listened to this?" They'd get, Zeppelin Volume 2 out or something, and so they'd be, you'd have that kind of. I had that kind of schooling as well, I suppose. Where they'd say, "Well, you don't listen to that, listen to this," and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a story?
I just remember my friends. Oh, go on.
No, it's a stupid story, but it boggles my mind still. And every time I speak to people, I tell them. I went to see my first concert was in '79. I went to see Judas Priest. I think it was the British Steel Tour. It might have been 1980. Anyway, it was around about that time. and I was 14. And I went to, and I was really nervous, and there was loads of bikers there, and it felt heavy and intimidating, but it wasn't. It was great. And then the support band came on, and they were playing, and me and my mate were sort of, we were staying near the back until the main gig, until Priest came on, and we didn't really take much notice of this support band. And then we watched the concert. It was great. And then this year, I was thought, who were that support band? And because I was looking back at all different bands of what I'd seen and what the support bands was, it was bloody Iron Maiden. And I'd sort of ignored Iron Maiden, and it was Paul Di'Anno era Iron Maiden, yeah. So I'd sort of listened to it,
that's funny.
but not really kind of paid much attention to them.
That is a good story. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That's good.
But
I remember when I remember when I did get into those older bands. My friends were all like, "What are you doing? Listening to all this old hippie shit?" When I was like, "You gotta listen to this Black Sabbath and this fucking Jethro Tull and this shit." And they're like, "What's wrong with you? Why aren't you listening to the fucking whatever they were listening to?" I mean, I like that other music as well, but I remember getting flack for that. But like, there's all this, like recently, even I went to see Judas Priest. Let's say I saw Judas Priest. The only time I saw them was recently, and I thought it was great to see them. There was great parts of it and everything, but it's just basically Halford's the only guy left, I think, original guy.
Yeah.
Or maybe maybe there was another one. He's really old. He's shuffling around in this ridiculous fucking trench coat with fucking diamonds on it or like studs. And the huge stage production and the big graphic design, like the stuff being played behind them and everything, I just thought it was all kind of poserish in a way, dare I say. Like I know it's still Priest and everything, but
I think it's become a bit too commercialized, right? A bit too
well, and also trying to keep it going and like kind of being a bit of a pantomime. But then I saw another concert recently, and it was Obituary and Testament. A friend of mine took me to see this, and I was like, and Obituary was so good and so like just exactly the same as they would have been in their 20s. They just came out there, they're just wearing their like regular type clothes, kind of, but they're like super long hair. And just played. There was none of that bullshit, none of the special, backdrop display, to match the songs and the giant banners and the stupid shit. It was just like the old school, like just metal, like getting right down to business. Yeah. Testament, and like a gig. Testament was a bit more like Judas Priest, a bit silly. I was never really into them anyways. But it just reminded me that that's what we're aiming for, say, in our fiction as well. Is like it's not nostalgia. It's sticking to the fucking grit. Like having the proper stuff is in there, making sure there's no bullshit.
Yeah, you want to make the true metal of Pulp Fiction, right?
Yeah. And to me, it's when I'm writing the story at the moment, which is set in 81, so back in the 80s again. But it's not because of nostalgia; it's because it's almost more concrete to me in a sense. I don't know why that is. But I guess it's because I was, close to my prime in the 80s, I suppose. I don't know. Or, my childhood was in the 70s. So, but it's something about writing in that time which just makes more sense to me. So it's not necessarily that I'm not trying to grab kind of nostalgia. It's just.
I think it's interesting because I would agree with you. If I write something that's in a more modern setting, right? Mostly I do certain sorcery or certain technology in different worlds. But when I write something that's in a more modern real world setting or something that's science fiction, the tech level I do the cutoff at is like mid to late 90s. That is before widespread internet and before widespread mobile phones, because those two things sort of ruin the logic of a story, right? Because suddenly all your characters and all the bad guys have access to this vast, instantaneous information network. And that takes out a lot of the mystery and a lot of the sources of conflict and the having to figure out what to do, right? Because it's kind of lame when your character can just pop out his smartphone and Google a solution, right?
Yeah, I agree, and I think, and you can't ignore those things if you're going to write in a contemporary context, unless if it was me, if I was writing science fiction, set in now or the near future, I'd have to have an EMP or a solar flare that destroyed all electronic things, and then
See,
I could
guys,
write.
I don't fully agree. I do think that's I don't think the technology itself is not the essential part that's missing, so much as the balls and the traditional values. Let's say, like even in say my art book when I wrote that chapter on, I always carry on about this hierarchical industrialization, where industrialization would be so much better if it wasn't just focused on consumerism and producing mass-produced factory goods. If you had the technology, but it was used for heroic, aristocratic purposes, let's say. Right, so it's the value system more than the technology itself is not necessarily to blame. Even say in Aegon #2, one of my favorite stories I wrote was it's a Lovecraftian horror story about a guy. He buys a mirror and he sees his own reflection is not behaving properly. Let's say, and he notices discrepancies in what he sees, and it turns out it's like an Irish changeling type creature that's coming for him, more or less, right? But the whole story, it's very Lovecraftian in how it's told in every possible sense. But it's also, I was very proud of how I did it. The whole story takes place in an exchange of emails. Wrote it out. Otherwise, extremely Lovecraftian, and it worked actually really well. So, like myself, this is my little disagreement with what you guys are saying. I just think I don't.
I think that's particularly interesting because you're resurrecting an old format, like right. Of the
because Lovecraft did a lot of stories like that where it was like letters being
like Dracula was written like that, and this is essentially a modern version.
Dracula, right.
I'm not saying that it can't be successfully done at all. All I'm saying is I can't do it.
No, it's better to do it your way. Overall,
I just prefer to write without it, right? I prefer to write in more
it's
mythic.
Like if something's said in that. Even now, when you see a really good horror movie now that someone's done, almost always it's set in the 70s or the 80s or something, right? Have you noticed this? Like a really good modern horror movie, like almost they do this on purpose. I think partially also because they can.
So when they're locked in the barn, they can't go. I'll just.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. For those reasons, also there are other issues as well. But like just in general, the feeling, I think it's not just the technology thing. It's like that is. I mean, that's if you want to be a purist,
that's a really interesting point, Brendan. Yeah. Because it's just something about there's a I don't know what it is about that. The last, I mean, there were this interest that people have in the 80s, for example, in music and all the rest of it, and it's more than a nostalgia. It's a hauntology, I suppose. It's this idea of the past is still haunting us in some ways, and I mean, it can be a negative thing that you get, becomes completely indulgent, and you just want to focus on that. But it also gives you an arena to play in a different way, which I think is, useful.
Yeah. I do tend to think that, like the author I was trying to say, that we have to work with the weirdness. We just have to work with it and do our best. By the way, I looked it up there because out of curiosity, I'm not sure if that was the guy, but it's Robert Anton Wilson. If it wasn't him, it was his contemporary, who was this other guy whose name I can't remember, but it might have been him.
Not Colin. You weren't thinking because Colin Wilson. He wrote The Mind Parasites.
Colin Wilson.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Maybe it was him. Right.
Yeah, I love Colin Wilson. He's a great writer.
Okay. Well, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, he had a lot of this kind of philosophical kind of, but I believe he's absolutely right. Like you will not see the resolve of any. It's so funny. Like it's just like, even in a war, even the war that's going on with Russia, or all these great. Sometimes there's a resolution of sorts, but generally just kind of morphs and dissolutes into something else along the way. I don't know. You can't expect resolution to anything. It feels like everything just changes constantly. It's just so funny. But this is a very speculative, science fiction-y way to look at the world and everything. We're trying to, Frank and I were going to thinking about doing a video about what was it? What was it again, Frank? Something about why science fiction writers are inclined to certain. Was it politics or certain worldviews or something?
Yeah, I think the worldview of pulp adjacent writing.
puts you in a frame. You have to be of a certain view in a framework and having a certain understanding. Anybody who who even tries to be a pulp type writer, you must know to be a certain type of character. It's very unlikely they will be, let's say, a politically correct person, or you know what I mean. Like, what's the reason for this? I don't know.
Yeah,
wisdom, if I can say arrogantly, or I don't know what.
Well,
what's the reason?
I don't know. I mean, I was going to say being a maverick, but it's not really being a maverick necessarily. It might just be conforming to a different set of modes, that were once existed. I mean, I think when I'm writing, just in terms of you were saying about the kind of the agency of characters, when I'm writing police characters, I've written this character now, a police detective in this story, and
you call it detective?
This isn't the one I'm writing now, the new one.
Oh, okay.
But just being able to have this kind of hard case copper acting in a hard case way without all the all the kind of stuff that would have come later. You can just actually interrogate people properly. It's very liberating.
Yeah, I was just watching last night actually. The Living Dead in Manchester Morgue. You ever see that?
No.
Oh,
no, I mean,
oh, you guys haven't seen that? Holy shit, you got to see that. Holy shit, you'd love that. It's like an Italian movie, like an Italian horror from the 70s, but it's set in Manchester. So it has all these kind of British actors and badly dubbed kind of British stuff, but it's Italian. It's weird, and some of the shots are done in Italy, I think, and it looks like out of place. But excellent zombie movie. But there's just a random scene with this Irish cop, and how can I say this on YouTube? I mean, can I say these words now? I don't know. But he's like, so he just makes some comment just casually while he's interrogating something, like, "You're a bunch of long-haired Fergits." Let's say, and it's just like, okay, that's excellent. Just throw it in there. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and I think if you're using when you're writing dialogue, you've got to make it realistic to the era that you're writing it in.
Just realistic in general. I mean, everybody says those things still. Anybody, men do it. Women maybe don't. Women have a whole different way of communicating with the world. That's why there's something inherently male about everything we're doing and saying, and we have to be, because we're men. We have to do it in the manly way. If you don't, you're being a fucking pussy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just being honest and true to yourself, isn't it?
Honest in general, honest to reality. Like, women kind of have live in a parallel universe of sorts, at least in terms of how they communicate, and that's fine. But like, that's what's also troubling about all that popular science fiction being like chick lit, basically.
yeah.
I don't know why they'd be even into science fiction at all. They never used to be when I was young.
No, I think
it's
it's mostly fantasy. It's not a lot of science fiction, I think.
Is it what do they call it? Romantasy. Romantasy.
Yeah, romantasy.
Yeah, there's been there's a booktuber I follow who's had a whole kind of shitload of people were dropping on him because he'd criticised romantasy and said how boring it was. He didn't want to read it, and people take that very, very badly and get all bitchy and angry about it. But it's just where we are, I suppose. It'll change. Things will change.
They'll get weirder. They're not going to go back to what we will hope. No. It'll just get something more straight.
Yeah. Well, I think we look at things through a very, very narrow lens because we're in it. And you try to look back at things that you've experienced, and you try and project forward and see what it might be. It's pretty difficult to do. I think you just have to kind of go with it and just keep doing the right thing.
There's definitely an archetype to an entertaining story, let's say a short story or a story in general.
Yeah.
Like a system you have to follow to make it in that kind of mythical way. And it was done so much, it's done, there's so much still potential in it. Perhaps infinite potential for all I can tell. As long as you do it
it's
an interesting thought I had a while ago is I actually kind of want to do a fantasy romance, but in a good way, right? To sort of jump onto the trendy genre, but write it not shit. See if I can pull it off. Who knows?
Fantasy what?
Fantasy romance.
Well, I did that in the Dream God. Did you read that or no?
I did not read Dream God yet. No.
Oh, you should. I think I did a pretty good job. You should read it.
I have to do that. Yes, absolutely.
Roman
think-
civilization that that did
Yeah,
not end.
it
And
goes
they're-
into-
they're-
Oh, fantasy romance, not Romans.
oh, romance. Sorry, shit. Your
Yes,
funny accent. You and your fucking
the
German
genre
nonsense.
the genre we've been talking about just now.
I'm sorry. Oh, so like to write a chick lit story to make money.
Yes, I'm going to try to
You
do
should.
that. Like good,
I've thought about that too. Yeah, we should do that
right?
just for the money making. But
Just for that,
surely you must
and
see
because
their
I think it's an
networking.
interesting challenge as a writer to look at a genre that's like 90% slop and try to identify what works about it, right? And just try to do your own thing with it instead of just another copy pasted slop fest. Just see what can I salvage there? Can I salvage?
I wrote a semi pornographic not romance. It's just fucking. It's like basically softcore 70s porn story in the Guts magazine, where it's a scenario where Ornella Muti and Brigitte Lahaye have sex in a trailer while shooting a Jess Franco horror film. Which is pretty funny.
That sounds like
straight
up be a 70s.
I don't think the chicks wouldn't go for that. The chicks need to have some kind of dominating, business guy or some guy that whips them. Excuse me, some like minotaur or something that enslaves them or something. You need a story about total male domination. You do it. Yeah. I don't know. One of us should do it just to experiment, to see if just merely the story itself will catch fire.
Excuse me.
Or do you need the special mainstream networks of distribution, et cetera, to is that the secret? Right. So what kind of story would you write, Frank?
I've been putting. I've just had a basic idea.
It's gotta be romantic from a chick's point of view, right? You gotta have the total.
Yeah, it would be like a warrior chick who gets captured by pirates, and they gift her to some local lord, and he makes her his slave.
Yeah, they'd like that. Yeah.
I think that's going to fit right into the mold. Oh.
Yeah, good idea. You should do it. Yeah, you should do it.
Even those, if you look at the old covers of the old romance novels from the sort of 70s and 80s.
Oh yeah, the ones they call the bodice rippers, right?
Yeah, some of them are great. Now they look great. They think,
they do. Yeah, I'd read those. Yeah, I'd read those.
And were enormously popular.
Frank, do you ever see?
Excuse me.
CP. What's your first name again? I can't remember what's your real first.
Chris. I'm
Jesus
Chris.
Christ, all the time. So, Chris, did you ever see the old BBC show about the people living in the Iron Age for like a month or 2 months or something?
No.
And from the 70s.
Oh yes, I remember. No, I don't remember watching it though.
Yeah, there's a documentary on it on YouTube. I watched it recently. Amazing. But the other thing I noticed about it, so first of all, they're all fit. The men all look high tea, even though they're hippie guys. They basically make a Bronze Age living area in a farmer's acreage.
Doesn't it still exist? Doesn't that site still exist?
No, they burned it down. Apparently, they had to burn it down.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
Because the farmer wanted the land completely back.
Right.
Yeah. But they lived there for how long was it? Something like 2 months. But strictly. Nothing but whatever they could get off the land and living in 100% Iron Age way. Did I say Bronze Age? Is Iron Age. Yeah. And but one of the things I noticed was this total. They did not give a shit about nudity. They showed them just totally nude, and young. They were all couples, like beautiful young women and young hippie guys and stuff. Just totally show them naked, going around. It's a funny thing that nudity was not such a. I remember seeing that also in there's a 70s. What's that documentary? The Science Show by the guy with the big glasses and the gray hair from the 70s. It was a very popular science show. But even he was doing a medieval showing some medieval period thing, and just some randomly topless woman was in it, just for no reason. Basically, it's just back then their whole attitude to nudity in Britain, at least, not in America.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have had lots of people writing in complaining about it, but
no, I don't think they did this. It was so prevalent. So many shows. I remember even in Monty Python, there'd be a random topless woman.
Yeah.
Remember the Page 3 girls and all that shit. This is just like before feminism. It was just like before the feminists decided that it was no good, and now
Yeah,
they're
I
all
mean,
doing.
look at any European movie from the 70s. You're bound to find at least some tits somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
But even like the serious like documentaries on BBC, there was tits
Yeah.
in the 70s.
We've got to get some in somewhere.
Well, shit. They just weren't,
it's necessary, right?
They didn't care.
It's a necessary part of the film art form.
Yeah.
Which just shows that they, I don't know. It seems like it was done in a healthy way. It was just sort of like an unabashed, sort of Greek, almost a Greek concept of heroic nudity. Like, here I am naked. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix, isn't it, of traditional and being sort of maybe more progressive or cutting edge by having nudity on the screen. It's a kind of a mix of those things because it's set off as often in a kind of traditional setting, or
Well, one of my favorite films I just had to think about in that context is that mixes traditionalism and progressive ideas and nudity and stuff like that. Is Sardos. If you've seen that, it's the one where Sean Connery wears really funky outfit.
That was filmed. A lot of that was filmed in Wicklow, and some of it in my friend's property in his back garden, or his parents' property that he's on now. Yeah, and I'm going there in like a week or two for a big party.
You're gonna wear the costume
and the Zardoz fucking.
Yeah, you gotta make it a Sardos themed costume.
I should dress up. Yeah, I should just like. Yeah, my fat gut like strapped into those fucking red breeches or whatever they fucking wear, the gun straps and the little bikini bottom. I should do that. But yeah, someone says
also the kind of movie that you only get from that era, right?
That and parts of Excalibur were filmed on his property. I know that. It's pretty funny because he lives just in that sweet spot, like around the fucking Joust Mountain near the.
I'll be back in a second. I'm just gonna get my power cable. Hang on a sec.
Power cable. You're running out of power.
Yeah, just looking at it now, so I'll just plug it in. Hang on a sec.
Chris is out in the boonies. He doesn't like to be indoors or near technology. Someone says Tomorrow's World. I don't know the Iron Age show that I saw. I don't think it was called that. Look it up. It's look up 70s Iron Age BBC, and it should come up. I don't remember what it was called. There was another really good one from the same era that I got to from that of this guy. Who decided to go live from the 70s, some random journalist guy, British guy. He goes to live on an island off the fucking Hebrides or something, some little Scottish island. Just rained, and he lives there for I think it's only 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but he's got nothing but fucking. He's got a few tiny provisions and a fishing line, I think, or maybe a knife or something, right? And he's a total city guy from London, knows nothing about anything. He just for this experiment, they throw him out there, and he's living out there for a couple of weeks, and it's pretty interesting. What's most interesting is his total in both those shows. Actually, is the lack of. It's just the civil, intelligent way they carry themselves. None of the silly bullshit you get now, the silly, pointless arguing and selfishness and narcissism. It's just like straightforward. I'm doing this now. Whatever comes of it. I'll try to survive, or whatever. Just getting on with it, kind of thing. Like
It reminds me of a internet show that's like on YouTube, I think. A German show called 7 versus Wild, where they have 7 people for 7 days in the wilderness, and they just have to essentially do survival stuff, right? And get a couple challenges,
right?
But especially the recent seasons have gone down in quality quite a lot because they focus a little too much on the showmanship of the whole thing, right? And just I don't know, it's lost the rough edges in recent years.
Okay, Tomorrow's World was apparently they're saying is Tomorrow's World was the technological show. Who was talking about a technological show? Was I or somebody else?
Yeah, you were saying about that science show in back. You were. But it was. You said the guy with the glasses.
Oh, is it Tomorrow's World? Could be. Yeah.
I'm trying to think which one it was because there was about 3 people in. There was always 2 or 3 presenters in Tomorrow's World.
Okay, this is the guy. He's famous for the shot where he walks out in front of the space shuttle as it's about to take off,
James Burke.
That's it. That guy. You remember that show then? Connections. That was it.
James
Connections,
Burke's
remember?
Connections. Yes.
Right. That was the show I'm talking about. So there's a Connections where he's showing a reenactment of a medieval scene, and there's some kind of scene where they're doing something and they're plunging some naked young tart into some water for some reason, and there she is, and they just have like some 18-year-old girl naked on the show just for no reason. The kind of thing they would never do. They wouldn't dream of doing that.
It was a brilliant program as well.
Oh yeah. He would just say something in relation to some historical thing, and he was like, and that he got that idea from this. Then he would skip to another era, right? He would just go to the next. This kind of brilliant thing, right? This also has the manly grit. I'm talking the essence. Even that, it's a straightforward educational thing. Education is another thing that's absolutely ruined nowadays. Absolutely fucking destroyed. Jesus Christ. Go on. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, the one I remember of from Connections, and I haven't seen it since it first aired, which is probably in the 80s, 70s or 80s, was one about glass. He was talking about windows and how, he just talked about things that you didn't really think about. And he'd say, but, the invention of glass, and then the way that they actually have paned windows, so the windows could become bigger, so there's more light in the buildings and all this kind of thing. It's brilliant. And then of course that links to lenses and art, and how art was affected by the invention of the camera obscura and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, amazing, excellent, actual education.
Yeah,
nothing like you would see now. And I remember being very disheartened to see him, I think in the 90s, doing some kind of like progressive-ish, liberal-ish nonsense after all that, not recognizing how much they were destroying everything he had been doing. I remember something like, but before, I think he might be dead now, but
yeah, I'm sure.
Sadly, he fell into that trap towards the end, I think. But like that, I remember on that being like things like you're saying about glass and that. Like when they found out that they had glass and like faucets and things in Pompeii, stuff like that. They didn't know that. At some point, they realized that actually the Romans had glass windows and things like plumbing.
Yeah,
and I was like, holy shit! Like, what a fall from grace that was.
I know. I can remember visiting Hadrian's Wall as a schoolboy, and one of they show you the latrines, and they say this is where they would sit, and they had this water running underneath, so that everything was plumbed. They had the hypercore systems. You could see how they heated the homes because it was cold up there near the border with Scotland, and it's brilliant.
I went to Hadrian's Villa in Rome, outside Rome, and he had a fucking underground tunnel, like a subway, where he would get into a chariot and his slaves would push him underground between his fucking bathhouse and his other buildings in this villa. He had his own little subway underground.
He's like, hey, I'm the emperor. Who's going to break my balls?
How excellent is that? How excellent! This is the kind of thing we need. This is that's the grit that I'm talking about. I know it sounds like excess and everything, but I mean, shit, that's the world's first subway right there.
Yeah.
Look at our subways. You'll get fucking pissed on and stabbed if you take a subway now here. You'll get raped and killed.
Real subways these days, they all smell like piss. If it
you'll
doesn't
get
smell like
fucking
piss,
lit
it's
on
not a big
fire.
enough station.
Frank, you go on a subway now, you'll have a cock in your ass and a cock in your mouth, and someone will light you on fire within 5 minutes. And that's the truth of it.
I've not been on. I've not been on the London Underground for years and years and years. I've not been to New York for decades, so I don't know what it's like now. But
I was on the tube. Go on.
No, I was just going to say the last time I think I was really impressed with the train service was in Norway. Which is
I'm sure.
About 10 or 15 years ago. It was brilliant, and I was going there for a work thing, and I thought, I got on the thing, and I'm like, I don't know sure where to get off. It was so easy because everything's up there, and it just showed they've got televisions, and everything's beautiful and clean and comfortable, and well, hopefully for a bit longer.
Frank, as a Germanic man, who do you think has better engineering skills, Germans or Norwegians, or like Nordics?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I guess Germans do have the better engineering skills, but
They do probably. Yeah.
we've been sorely lacking in organization skills in the last couple of years.
Well, you're not allowed to. You're not permitted.
Yeah, like look at our railway system, right? It's completely fucked.
Is it? Yeah.
Well,
Is it fun?
you know, everything is by degrees, by comparison, though, because I've travelled on German trains. Like again, it was about maybe 7 or 8 years ago the last time, but it was good, you know. And I say by comparison because when I compare it to the British trains, which are bloody dreadful, you know, and enormously expensive.
Yeah, at this point, I consider ours quite dreadful too.
Really?
Well, Chris, I must say, I was in London a couple of years ago, and I did find the tube still amazing how it was organized and how it works, and it's pretty well when it was made, at least. Yeah. Pretty amazing feat, and like still runs somewhat well. You know, you still have like it's just certain confusing only from like the people they have hired to work at it now more than anything else. Is it in any way ever confusing or anything else? But pretty astounding feat overall.
It just technology worries me in the sense that I don't think we have the we're losing the skills to maintain the complex structures we've built. You know, so that, I think, you know, we're not. Every time I take a flight anywhere, which isn't very often, but if I do, I'm always thinking, oh, this could be it. Because, you know, there's so many close misses, and they've changed the rules about how they hire the traffic controllers because it was unrepresentative and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I always think of that too. Yeah, definitely.
So I always think, you know,
we're definitely going to live through a bit of that kind of thing. Yeah, planes falling from the sky kind of thing, bridges collapsing. There's no doubt.
Yeah, you know, ships hitting bridges. That was in the States, there, you know, wasn't it? I think, you know,
right now we're just suffering through the chicklet and the, you know, pulp novels that we reduced to fucking erotic fantasy. But soon planes will be falling from the sky. I worry the most about reaching the stage of nuclear reactors being unmanned as, you know.
You kind of hope they've got some shutdown system where if things go wrong, it just turns off.
Well, over here they shut them all down, so no risk here. But also, we don't get enough energy anymore. It fucking sucks.
Like Chernobyl, even Chernobyl, we must maintain a level of civilization just to maintain the dome on Chernobyl, or else, and that's going to be that way for
a couple of thousand years.
I want to say at least I think it's more than a few thousand years. It's going to need a dome on it. So we're really playing with fire with this open border stuff, if you ask me.
You know, Frank, it's in Germany, so you've had problems with the power. I know, but the German government's supposed to be sort of moving away from this green agenda, isn't it? More?
No, not really. Not really. The thing is, we did have a conservative guy winning the last election, and he promised that it's going to be the end of the left agenda, right? But he's allied with them out of necessity, and now they're dictating all the policies, and he's just cocking out, and that's a problem. And the thing with the anti-nuclear is that it started already under Merkel, and because of an overreaction to the Fukushima incident, which is absolutely not comparable to anything we have here, right? It was a tsunami, it was an earthquake. We don't have tsunamis and earthquakes in Germany. Our nuclear plants were very safe at the height of safety technology and everything. But due to the whole hysteria about, oh no, nuclear accidents, it was all shut down. And actually in my area, there's a nuclear plant where they're going to blow up the cooling towers very soon. And that's going to be it for nuclear power here. And the problem is that all the replacements we have, well, the green replacements, they just don't do it, right? You can't get enough with wind and solar. And so they're just using oil and coal, which is a lot dirtier than nuclear.
Yeah,
See,
it's
ironically, once again, I slightly disagree, and ironically, I tend to agree with that. That unless they stop their open borders immigration and things like that, that they're not, it's incredibly dangerous to have non-Germans eventually in another generation or two running these plants. If you're going to set up this thing that needs this level of maintenance and that, and you're looking at, I don't know. Yeah, I know it's completely the opposite reason for why the Greens are doing it, but
yeah.
Like I said, that's one of my main worries is like, what hope is there for the Earth if even in a collapse scenario, if we have these nuclear power plants and someone needs to keep them going or else.
Well, it just goes back to what I was saying earlier about, there's this complex culture that we live in, this complex technologically driven society where, I mean, I don't know how, if my microwave breaks, I'm not going to be able to fix it. Or if my TV stops.
You use a microwave? I'm absolutely appalled, Chris. Microwave? I don't use that shit.
But the point is, anything that I've got all this shit in my household that I don't know how it works or what are the basics of its function.
Right.
I understood a cathode ray tube, because I was into photography and stuff. But when flat screen TV, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just think it's such a complex system, and the understanding of these things is so niche now that it's very, very dangerous. It's very fragile. It's like a real house of cards. That's my doomster.
Yeah, it's very useful, and I do enjoy knowing how to do things at the base level, like everything here in my work shed. Let's say, like even my shelves behind me that I built recently. I just use hand tools. I just use like saw and I have an old-fashioned fucking drill thing and a screwdriver and all that. Or even right here, like I have to fix my stupid fucking my pipe stove. Here's my piping. Oh, I hit the roof there. Sorry. Here's my pipe stove piping. I have to put that back on the stove so I have a bit of heat. It's just fucking.
Yeah, and
it's old-fashioned. Like I know I have the internet and the electronics coming out here as well, and that's all fine. But I do. You must know how things work at the basic level and how to do stuff. Yeah.
Well, do you remember when I was a kid, you used to be able to get like crystal radio sets, and so you could build a radio and you could pick up things with your headphones on them and that, but that sort of technology has been sidelined. Obviously, it's primitive technology, but the point exactly as you say, there are things I do around the house. I can put a shelf up and I built an arch in the garden.
But using the hand tools. If you're going to do it woodwork or stonework or any of that, you should be able to do it without the power tools. No electricity. And I find it's better. I always find it's better. I love looking at old videos of like I saw one today of like an old-fashioned lathe of a man cranked a lathe where they took a giant piece of oak.
The good thing about the man cranked lathe is it's not gonna snag your sleeve and turn you into a meat popsicle.
Yes.
Well, look, I myself, okay, like I originally, all my using hand tools thing was inspired by one day I read something or someone told me something about they knew a guy who was a real carpenter because he would show up with a little toolbox of hand tools and he would fix anything you want. And I was like, wow, that's it. That's how you, so everything is potentially fixable that way. That's good to know. I want to know how to do that. And I'm by no means an expert in any of this, but I just thought from then on, you look at how things work at least that base level, the basic things you need, and you can do it by hand. And to know how to do it is probably extremely important. But there's a great feeling of understanding things at least at that level. Like all the stuff.
I think one issue with that is nowadays a lot of things are just no longer made to be fixable, right? If you look at if you look at a 30-year-old car, you can probably fix some problems in it yourself, right? But with a modern car that has all this electronic stuff put into it, there's absolutely no chance you're going to do anything with that.
Yeah, adding complexity is not always. Yeah, I mean, you can't argue that. Like, even though we're live streaming now because I have internet in my work shed and electricity, that I don't really know how. I wouldn't know how to do any of that. Or so there's there's a dichotomy in everything we're saying at a certain level. I'm never going to know how to make a computer or make a fucking internet.
Yeah, well, that's also the whole purpose of the computer and the internet. We're using those for what it's made for, right? And
at the same time, you should know basic survival stuff. You should know how to do. You should know how to.
But then you look at the smart home bullshit, right? You get a fridge that connects to the internet. Why? You get a microwave that connects to the internet. Why?
Right.
What are all these appliances doing with being connected to the internet and being harder to fix because of it, right? There a couple, was it yesterday or was it 2 days ago or something, that there was a big outage of one of the internet hosting providers, Amazon's internet providing thing. And a lot of services went offline because of that. And I've read that people who had smart beds, their beds would just go into a position that wasn't comfortable, and they couldn't change it because the central service got fucked.
There's a story there.
Yeah, there is a story there. Yeah,
smart beds. Yeah,
those smart beds, they even like you can do things like make them heat to your preferred temperature, right? And then I saw on Twitter someone posted he did it manually with some temperature control device and just some tubing, and he just did something that's not connected to the internet. Like, even if you have a bed with temperature control, why does it have to be connected to the internet? Why is it managed online? What's the purpose of that? Right?
Hot water bottles temperature control.
Yeah, even if you have an electronic thing, why connect it to the internet? Why not have all of those controls locally installed? Right? There's zero reason for any of these appliances to be connected to the internet and controlled by some central server that can just break down and then nothing works anymore. There's no purpose to this. There's no point. The only reason for it to be that way is to make you dependent on the company, right? That's literally the only reason.
Well, yeah, and of course,
here's my drill. Look at my drill. I use it all the time. I actually did a competition. I did a competition with my kid. I was like, "You take the electric drill and you drill a hole while I drill with this." And I think he.
Okay, Dad.
Yeah. No, I can't remember. It was like at least a draw, anyways, or something like that. I was like drilling like really mad. Like, honestly, the amount of times like the fucking electric drill would run out of power.
Yeah.
Right. So many times. Or if you've ever used a chainsaw, the amount of times you have to just fucking either refill it or it breaks, or you got to sharpen the fucking teeth on it or whatever. It's all bullshit. Like, some of the technology is bullshit. When you can, like, it takes longer to use a saw, but in every other way, it's better for you. Get exercise. It's more satisfying.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for any power to come back and fix anything. And I don't know. There's a trade-off. There is a trade-off. But at the same time, we do need high technology, I think, or at least we're stuck with it. But,
yeah, it's very useful, and I often love it. But I'm just always suspicious about where it's coming from, as Frank said, about why would it have to be connected to the internet? Well, there's an obvious.
A fucking fridge connected to the internet. Like, what is the fucking reason? So your pals can see what's in your fridge. Your social credit score can fucking deny you.
I mean, that's what it's all about. But I mean, maybe this is me being paranoid, but there's control elements to everything, and I think everything now is about tightening that little element of control on everything. So digital IDs is control, and you won't, you don't need to, it's not going to be compulsory to have a digital ID as an example. I haven't got a particular dog in this fight, but I'm just saying. And but you can see where it'll go, because they'll say, yeah, but you can't travel abroad unless you've got one, or you can't access the beet section of the supermarket unless you've got one, whatever. It'll be. I saw a video. I think it was David Icke's son. So whatever. But
I can see that happening in the UK, especially because recently I've read something that happened there, where they try to do some initiative for health, a new law for the health of the citizenry, where they're like, you're not supposed to eat as many unhealthy snacks or drink sugary drinks. So now when you go to a restaurant, you're only allowed to order one regular Coca-Cola with your meal. And after that, if you want more, you're only allowed to order the low sugar versions.
Oh,
Literally, by law, you are not allowed to order more
where
than
is this?
one
What
regular
was it?
Coke at a restaurant in the
Where
UK.
is this?
UK,
Seriously?
yes.
Yeah, I can believe that. And because you go to places now, they say, "Oh, we don't take cash." You
Oh,
can't buy.
yeah.
Oh,
You've got,
or
and you
yeah.
think, what?
I
And
have
then
I have not once in my life paid with a card anywhere outside of like making online purchases. Whenever I go somewhere where I'm physically present, I pay with cash.
You
Every
withdraw
single time.
your purse of gold and you open the
Yeah,
drawer
I,
first.
I,
And
I, I withdraw the stuff. I go and withdraw cash, and then I go out
jewels, a
with
bag of
cash.
jewels.
And I don't even carry a card with me at all. And
but what's happening here is that they're getting rid of the banks, so you'll have a small amount where they have maybe 2 bank machines. They've got no banks, and then the bank machines close down or they don't get filled up, and then people can't get cash, and they have to use. It's just a slow kind of constriction on all. I think that's happening. Yeah, and the only way to combat it, because there's no way to escape. We're all in the systems. The only way to do it is to completely opt out, and that you need a support network. You need to be in a community of like-minded people who are doing it as well.
Well, it's funny because I've never been officially kicked off anything, or I feel like I've said some fairly outrageous things, although I try to do so intellectually as much as I get. Not always, perhaps. I'm sure not at all. In fact, I kind of had a redneck upbringing, I guess.
But you
Growing up in
talked
the
about
woods.
like the social credit score type thing and that.
No, I just mean like in terms of like the fact I'm on YouTube right now, and you're saying like you get censored off things, but like I've never been fully censored off anything to date. Facebook is where I've met the most opposition and had even then I'm still on Facebook. But
I'm
I've
not
had a lot
saying
of
I'm not saying but I'm saying that the potential is
No,
there.
I fully agree with you. I'm just saying. I don't know. I never myself. I'm like you can still get away with a fair amount of things. I think, sort of, as long as there's a trick to it. I think.
yeah, I mean, you can still get away with things, but I think it's just better when governments and big corporations just don't have that power potential,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. No, I totally agree. I didn't even mean to disagree at all. I just sort of like thinking out loud as to my own, because I often wonder like I did get demonetized on YouTube. I can't take I used to be able to get super chats. So even now we might have made like $20 or something before in the not a huge amount or anything. It doesn't matter. I was surprised I was even allowed to get monetized in the first place. But the Facebook is where I got the most ridiculous fucking. I posted a meme there not that long ago, and I got accused of sex trafficking. It was just like a black and
That's
white.
not an accusation I've encountered before. That's wild.
Yeah, it was like a black and white newspaper cutout from the 80s, I think, of like a mail order, Vietnamese bride or something like that. I can't even remember what it was. It was just funny the way it was. The ad was worded. That was the whole joke. Was just like find me, give me husband now, or whatever the fuck. I don't remember what it was. Just like silly joke, and like that they deleted my account. I was using like the not the account of the channel for the Aureus Press, but the specific account at the time was like, nope, you're supporting human trafficking. That's it. And then like I've tried to contest it many times, and even recently again because I was trying to like monetize that a little bit, and I was like, do you want to see what I actually got? They're just like, I see you have this restriction for this reason. You're obviously a very evil person.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I show you the actual meme that I got fucking and the accusation, because it really makes no sense to anybody who's not a fucking child, But no, they wouldn't obviously do that.
Yeah, well, humor is sort of at the forefront of the kind of battleground of you know, of
Mm.
of culture at the moment, because humor's been completely neutered in the mainstream. You know, it's a mainstream humor is rubbish. You know, you have to kind of go to the people on the fringes and who are doing their own kind of thing, who are the funny ones. A lot of it's
What would you call mainstream humor today? Who's a mainstream?
well, I mean, you know, it's like television sitcoms are all unanimously unfunny now that they make for
Are they still
TV.
around? Television
Yeah,
sitcoms?
yeah, they are. Yeah, they're just not funny, so they
What,
disappear. You think
really?
about the kind of, you know, or even the kind of cutting jokes. I mean, the kind of things that the Pythons you mentioned earlier would talk about. You know, a lot of that couldn't happen now. You know, which is
Yeah, John Cleese himself has complained about this. Right?
yeah. You know,
Humor
there's a
just
bit, and
isn't
humor's
stable.
such an important part of, you know, if you're not able to take the piss out of yourself and laugh at each other, then you know, turn off the
No one can
lights.
have our point of view. Yeah, you can't be in supportive of people like us, I guess. But like you were saying about sitcoms, though. Like I haven't seen a new sitcom. I wouldn't even know. Can you name a new sitcom? Do they still really exist?
I've no, and I'm not. I have seen things because I wouldn't talk about them. I've seen like you know when you do trailers of things and or single episodes. You know, they're just rubbish. I can't think of the names.
The last
And
one
they're
I
often
think I
got, you
saw.
know,
Go on. Go on.
no, I was just going to say they've often got, you know, good, you know, people who aren't untalented, but they're just not funny.
I honestly I thought that was a dead form of entertainment. The last one I remember seeing, it was really offensive. The last one I saw, it was, but even that was probably 10 years ago. It was something like it was a British one that took place in a mosque, something about a mosque, and it was all Pakistani actors. And the whole premise of the one episode I saw was that there was a white guy that was now the imam of or whatever of the mosque.
Right.
Is that what they call him? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
And they were all like, "Oh, he's white!" Oh, and they were making all these jokes, and there was the laugh track in the background. Ha ha ha! It was like this bizarre pantomime of a
Yeah.
thing. But even that, I forget what it was called, but that must have been 10 years since I saw that. I have not, because we have like a Sky or whatever. So I get a lot of the British channels and shit. But I don't recall seeing sitcoms for a long time.
My favorite sitcom of all time is Al Bundy. Anyway, they're never going to surpass him.
Yeah, that was a good one.
They will never surpass Mr. Bundy.
Well, maybe there was some good ones. Let me think, though. There has been good ones.
Yes,
Shit.
they have.
Like some British, there's got for sure some British ones. There was some fucking excellent British ones.
That was, what was that called? The Al Bundy, was that Love and Marriage? Was that what it was?
That was
It
the
was
song.
called Married with Children. I
Married with
think.
Children. That was
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. Love and Marriage was the theme song, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. Yeah.
With Christina Applegate. Did she die or something? Did I mention that? Or
I
maybe
saw
I
I
don't
saw a
think
lot
it
of
was.
American television when we lived in South Africa. We used to get this. We didn't get any British TV, so I was there for 12 years in the 80s, and they had a lot of American programs. So I saw a lot of those there, like is it Sanford and Son and things like that. You know, the Golden Girls, all that kind of crap.
The Golden Girls came on TV here just randomly. My kids were like flipping through channels or whatever, and it was an episode where Blanche, is that her name?
Mm.
One of these older like Jewish actresses is sitting there, and her daughter shows up and says, "No, or is it her daughter or her son? I can't remember." And says, "I'm marrying a black guy," and she's visibly distressed, like, "Oh." Like in a way that you would never get away with now. She's like wailing in the air. She's like, "Oh my god!" I remember, and I was like, "Oh, this is it." Like at first when my kids were seeing the Golden Girls, I was like, "Oh, you don't watch this trash." Then I saw that, I was like, "Okay, you can watch it for a bit." It was hilarious just to see that, even though like, oh, I don't know, it was very
it's
very Talmudic in a way.
Yeah, it's I was, what about sci-fi movies? Because I've not seen anything for a while now, and I tend to look at old
There
stuff.
is the odd good one still, yeah. There is the
Yeah.
odd good one. I've seen something not that long ago. What was it? Ooh, what was it? There's the odd one that is at least not bad.
Yeah, I mostly watch older stuff, but I think the most recent one I've watched with my pal was Robert Eggers' Nosferatu remake.
Oh, I didn't see that. I mean, I meant to see that. Yeah. I heard
And
it was good.
yeah, it was good. It was very solid. I think in some places he did add a bit of modern ideas, right? Like there's a bunch of jump scares and action scenes that feel a little more modern than what he usually does. But overall, it's a very atmospheric film. It's a very good adaptation of Nosferatu and Dracula, of course, in the wider scheme of things. I think it's about on roughly on par with the 70s version by
Really?
Werner Herzog. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I wasn't sure I would, but I did. And I thought it was visually very rich. It was,
Yeah.
I mean, the way he painted that historical era was beautiful.
Oh, I have to watch this.
I, I think the thing that I always get a little bit disappointed with a lot of contemporary horror is everything has to be explained or shown. And I think that I quite like the fact that when things are introduced and there's never any explanation for why they happened and nothing's really revealed. I was thinking, what was the as a great example of that is it Haunted, the 1960s black and white one?
Is that where they go in the house? Or
The
no,
house, yeah.
that is
And
explained. It's the guy doing it all the time. It's the psychic guy behind the wall or whatever.
Well, that's Hell House, yeah, with
Oh,
Roddy
Hell House.
McDowell.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay,
The Haunted
sorry.
is an older one.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
Hell House is a great film too.
Oh, fucking excellent. And the chicken that is so hot, she gets raped by the ghost.
Yeah.
She's such a hot little chick, that 60s chick. She was in that other show where they're cycling in France. You ever see that?
No.
Her and that other girl. Oh, it's so good. And they get like attacked by some French guy. They're just like, anyways, whatever. Sorry, go on.
No, all I was going to say was in The Haunted, if I put the title right, it's just it's that build-up of psychological terror, and it's never quite fully resolved whether it was mental or it's just that kind of, and there's no kind of monster jumping out, kind of. It's great. It gets the hackles up,
Yeah, I saw one, a new one, newish. It must be at least probably at least 5 more years old. I do not remember the name of it, sadly. I saw it, I think I was a little bit tipsy and I was like at home and it came on at night and when I was inside something, but it was similar in that to what you're saying. I can't remember the name. Maybe somebody would know in the chat, but this girl, she goes for a boating outing with some friends and it's got some CGI and some bullshit unnecessarily, but she seems to be cycling through time on this boat. Oh shit, how does it work? It's like one of these time things where they're being attacked and killed, and everything recycles, and she has to relive it over and over and over again. And oh shit, it's possible I could look it up because I recognize the actress from that movie. There was a half decent vampire movie set in the Arctic from about 10 or more years ago. It's set in the Alaska and the Arctic. You ever see that? There's a vampire movie. You know the one?
Where the whole town is.
Yeah, the whole town's under siege from the universe. What's that called?
I can't remember what it's called.
Whatever. Same actress is in this thing, but again, the reason she's in the film anyway is that she's reliving time over and over again, and she can't escape the loop. Is never given, and at the end, it's good. It has a good ending where you think maybe she's finally free of it, and then you realize no, she's back in it, and so that's good. That was a good.
Another recent film that's sort of horror adjacent that I quite enjoyed that's one that my friend actually suggested. He said, we got to watch this one together. You're going to like it. It's called Mandy with starring Nicolas Cage, like from 2017 or something at that time.
Okay.
And
I haven't seen it.
It's set it's got that 70s psychedelic rock vibe to it. and it's like a guy living with his wife in the forest, and then some sinister cult comes around. The cult leader gets a crush on the wife, has her abducted, and then he kills her because she laughs at his dick when he undresses. It's completely fucking surreal. And then Nicolas Cage goes on a wild revenge trip to take down that entire cult. And then there's undead motorcycle vampires whom he kills with an axe whose shape is inspired by something that the director saw on an old metal album. And it's completely wild, and it's Nicolas Cage at his best. Really, this is the kind of film that's really
every now and again he does a good movie. Yeah. Like Wild Heart and other ones.
That movie is wild, and it feels so metal, right?
Yeah,
It's
good. Metal is what
it's
we want.
great.
Metal is what we're all about.
That one's great.
That feeling is what we're trying to capture.
Yeah.
Tell me the name of the movie I'm trying to explain. It was called Triangle. Yeah, it's called Triangle. That's the film I'm talking about. And the other film someone else mentions, K Mags told me Triangle. Shadow by Susan tells us that 30 Days of Night is the other one.
Yes.
Right? That's what it's called. Also pretty good. Fairly horrific and not bad. So there, you've seen some of these modern movies too. You must admit, and the odd one sneaks out that isn't too bad, right?
Oh yeah.
You must admit, right?
Yeah, and I know, like I've liked Christopher Nolan movies in the past, some of his sci-fi stuff, but Eggers is good. I liked The Lighthouse was really weird, and I was, I've not seen The Witch. I don't know if you've seen The Witch by Eggers.
I've seen The Witch. I think The Witch is it's very good.
Yeah, I've not seen that one, so that's one to watch, is it? Yeah.
But I think my favorite of his would be The Northman. I like that one a lot.
See,
The Northman was pretty good.
Oh, The Northman, yes, of course, yeah.
Pretty good, not bad, yeah. And The Lighthouse. I did not like. I didn't think much of that.
It was odd. It's an odd film.
Yeah, but
I think it's too weirdly sexual, right? In an oddly repressed way. That's different to when you get the same kind of thing in a 70s film.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't care for it somehow.
There are some films that you can watch again and again, and I watched The Devil Rides Out again recently, and it's so brilliant.
That's so good.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. The best part is when they show the devil when they're out in the woods or whatever, like 3/4 through. It's like, oh wow. I remember when I first saw that, I was like, oh shit.
It was the goat of Mendes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then later on when they're in the circle, it's pretty funny. Some of it's kind of hokey, but still pretty
yeah.
What does he say? The sign of Osiris, what does he say? The sign of Osiris slain, the sign of Osiris risen. Christopher Lee, right? I always remember that. I always think of that. In my comparative religious studies, I always think of.
You've remembered interesting parts.
What?
I remember things like Rex, you fool, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That kind of. I always love stories about the. The rich guy, the satanic Edwardian pervert, who's got a mansion and he's funding a cult, which it seemed much more prevalent back in those days. But
yeah, it's a great trope.
Yeah, and that is a great film. A truly great film.
Now you see, I like The Ninth Gate, which is a Polanski film.
That's great. Oh, I love it. Love it.
Boris
Balkan. Boris Balkan is one of the best. That actor. That's the same actor I'm talking about from that Dracula film that scared me. Yeah, right. Him. That Boris Balkan character is fucking fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
And at the end, when he thinks he's done the ritual and he's going, look, I am not.
Observe. Observe. Well, yeah. Oh, he's so good in that. Some kind of I should watch that again. Really good movie. I forgot about that one.
And it's that kind of occult detective thing which I always get drawn into.
Hmm.
You know, you said about was it the Dracula film that terrified you when you were a kid?
Right.
Or something. But I always remember there was a series called on the TV called The Rivals of Sherlock Holmes back in the 70s. Now, I didn't actually watch this program then, but it was an episode where it was Carnacki, which I think is William Hodgson, the ghost hunter, and it was Donald Pleasance playing the part, and it was about this phantom horse. Now, we were visiting family, and I was supposed to be asleep, and I could hear it, and all I could hear was this horse and people screaming and things, and it terrified me, and I wasn't even watching it, you know, but. I finally watched it a few years ago. I think it was on YouTube. But
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Suggestion.
When I was extremely young, very, very young, I have some memory. Maybe I dreamed it. I don't know. Of seeing a preview for a movie, a vampire movie, about something about vampires, teenage vampires in a high school coming out of coffins on a basketball court. Something, and I never saw it again. Never saw this preview again since. I don't know what the fuck it was. I remember it scaring the shit out of me as a little tiny youth. Some one of these like early 80s, late 70s exploitation type movies. But I remember just scaring the living daylights out. Around the same time, one of the first movies I saw on television was it was around the same time I saw what's that movie? Fucking Harryhausen movie with the giant crab. When they're on the island.
Oh, not
the
Lost
one?
Island. Yeah.
Mysterious Island. Mysterious Island.
Mysterious Island. It's Doug McClure in that one. I don't know if he used to be in a lot of Doug McClure. Do you remember him? He used to be in a lot of those movies.
Right. Yeah.
B-movie actor who's always in it.
Yeah. He was pantomimed in The Simpsons as Troy McClure.
That's right.
Yeah. He was in all those like Journey to the Center of the Earth or like
Island at the Top of the World and
yeah, all those fucking things. Some of them were pretty bad, pretty bad.
I'm assuming he was.
Mysterious Island is great. What's that?
I always assume he's in all of them, but he probably wasn't in all of them. But
I don't think I know Troy McClure or fucking what's his real name?
Doug. Yeah, Doug
McClure. I don't think he's in Mysterious Island. I don't think he's in that.
No. I just imagine him in all of those films.
But Mysterious Island is a grade above a lot. Most of those films it's pretty good still. I think
anything with the Harryhausen stop motion in is worth watching.
Oh shit! Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen this, Frank?
I have not seen Mysterious Island.
Ooh, you should.
Not yet.
The beginning of the movie is American Civil War, the rebels escape from a Yankee jail in a hot air balloon and get caught up in a storm and taken out to sea to some bizarre island, which turns out to be where Captain Nemo is conducting experiments on animals and making them.
Yeah, I have to see this.
Yeah,
this sounds amazing.
It's great. That's the beginning. The first fucking 10 minutes is that. It's absolutely fucking.
And if it's got Harryhausen animations, that's
giant chickens and bees and things.
Like, I loved his stuff in what's it called? The Golden Voyage of Sinbad.
His best stuff, I think, was the Golden Voyage or Seventh Voyage of Sinbad.
The Golden Voyage, I think, was the.
I'm actually reading right now to my daughter the. Scheherazade, what's it called? The Arabian Nights.
The 1001 Arabian Nights.
1001 Nights, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's got all the original voyages of Sinbad in there.
Yeah, they're great.
And apart from the one that's a blatant ripoff of fucking Odysseus, where he meets the Cyclops and does all the same shit.
Yeah.
Apart from that.
I love the kind of shit that they did in the
apart from that, it's excellent.
Where they're just blatantly ripping things off and making their own versions of things. So I don't know where the book is, but I picked up a translation of a Persian Alexander romance at some point, which the Alexander romance was like a romanticized, fictionalized account Alexander the Great's conquests, right? And the Muslim Persians made their own version of it, where Alexander turns out to be half Persian because the the Persian king went to Greece, right, and he impregnated the woman who'd later marry Philip of Macedon, and he'd raise Alexander as his own son, but then Alexander would figure out, oh, I'm actually the brother of the half brother of the Persian king, and the whole conquest was a misunderstanding. Where and and in the end, when Alexander actually had conquered Persia, the Persians would justify that, right? By yeah, he's half Persian. We weren't conquered. He just came home, and it turns so wild. Where at one point Alexander is going east to India, right, and from there he goes to an island that's ruled by the queen of the fairies, and she had armies of flying ferrymen who swoop down at his troops, and he takes away their wings by uttering the name of Allah because it's a Muslim story, right? And then he conquers the fairylands, and he takes the fairy queen as his wife, and she joins his army, and then he goes further into Asia, encounters a tribe of cannibal Negroes whom he conquers with the power of flying fairy armies, and it's just completely amazing. And it starts out by the author saying that he swears by the holy name of Allah that everything he writes in this book is the absolute truth. None of it is made up. All of this happened exactly as written. It's completely wild.
That's like in the 1001 Nights, half the stories of Sinbad actually they all culminate in the exact same thing. He gets shipwrecked or abandoned by his crew that he set out with, and then he goes through these adventures and he defeats the Rock or the Serpent or cannibal tribes, and then they find him again, but they don't recognize him. This happens like 3 or 4 times, and he's like, and they say to him, "Oh, we have all these wares in store of this guy that was on our ship, but he's gone now. And if you will kindly maybe take a share of them and sell them for us or whatever." And they never recognize him, and every time it's like 3 or 4 times this happens in these stories. And then he's like, and they say, and he says, "Whose wares are they?" And they belong to this guy Sinbad who was with us. And he goes, "I'm Sinbad." And they suddenly recognize him, and they give him all the stuff. And I don't know what this is. There's some kind of mercantile element to the stories that I can't explain or why it's what's going on. But anyway, because I'm reading this right now, I've made note of it.
It's great, isn't it? Reading aloud is great.
It is, yeah.
I used to love that with the kids when they were little. Just read the bedtime stories,
Yeah. I take a great page from Boris Karloff because I have an LP of Boris Karloff reading fucking something or other. What is it? Some scary story shit. But I try to. Ever since I heard him doing it, I try to put a bit of that inflection into the because it really is. It accounts for so much.
Yes.
To add that bit of drama while you're reading it, just like
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love doing all the characters. I've got 3 kids, and I've read them each Lord of the Rings, and every time I sort of love doing all the voices, the characters. Going by Gandalf and speaking like Christopher Lee, speaking like this. It's great fun.
I read them all when they were young. The Egyptian myths, the Nordic myths, and the Hellenic myths as much as I could, and parts of even the Iliad or something. Maybe they weren't so interested in many things, but I tried to infuse them with whatever. Right?
It's important, yeah.
Nowadays, what can I say? They're more interested in their fucking video games or their phone than anything else. That's all I can say. I don't know. That's all I can say.
Yeah, Don't start me off on that again.
Well, listen, I better let you guys go. I think we've been talking for a while. What time is it? Fucking. Yeah, it's like 10 past 12. So for me.
Really? It's already bloody hell.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, what do you think, guys? A successful wizard chat, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. I'll show you again. Look,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the right way around. Yeah,
But,
so that's out now. And there's lots of books. They're all on Amazon.
C.P. Webster is an excellent writer. You will not be disappointed if you buy his books. I'm quite 100% positive. So there you go. He's a very good writer, and he's got.
Oh, your money back.
Oh, your money back. Well, I don't know about that, but
just joking.
Try to enjoy it. You will anyway. No, he's very good. Definitely, you know. I mean, how could you? How could any of this talk that we've displayed here not tell you that the writing will be good, the stories will be good? These are not sellout fucking. You know.
Well, I just write honestly. I just write honestly as who I am. That's all it is. It's, you know, I haven't got an axe to grind. I just write stories, and I want people to be sucked into the imaginative world and forget things for a bit.
Yeah,
and wake up screaming.
Wake up screaming, exactly. Yeah, you won't be. You know, it's not for posers. That's the best way to describe it. I mean, really, I still think that's the best way. But let's say goodbye, shall we, Frank?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. That's it. Goodbye.